All right, everybody, what's up? How's it going? Having fun today. Getting ready with my guests. Fooling around. Not too much. Everything seems to be running pretty solid. Those of you who watch regularly know that live streaming sometimes is a little bit of a tightrope walk, but I think we're good today. Let's say hello. Who's in the chat today? Who was first today? Our fearless leader, Max Wild of 343 Labs, was here, but where did he go? Max Wild, are you still in the chat? Absent is here, a regular and a great producer. Absent, we were talking about this. We're going to have you on the show one of these days. Who else is here? Martin Crockett, welcome back. John H. Kingston III from Rockaway Park, New York, who is usually, I think, most of the time first. Who else is here? Syak PhD Live. Let's go. New name. Welcome. New Drexian is back. What's up? Doc Sample. What's up? Von Mac. Another new name. Dab. Club Nico K. Good evening. Virgint. I'm going to guess that's what it is. VGRNT. Hello. Welcome. A May is here. I believe you're also on that Electro production Discord, aren't you? We're going to talk about that a little bit today, maybe. That's one of the reasons my guest is here, believe it or not. Although he doesn't know that. Live Society. Oh, he knows now. I just said it. Live Society's back. What's up? Dan Dawson, welcome. And Stefan Wise, what's up? Great to have you. Science Cult in the house. Nice. I think it's time. Welcome, everybody. What's up? Nice to have you all back today. Glad to be here. It's Electro Saturday today. You know, I flip-flop between techno and electro. I love both. I really do. Although lately, I have to say, I'm feeling it, the electro, a touch more in terms of like production and what I'm grooving to and what I want to dance to. Like, that's just where my head is at, my body is responding to. So, not that I don't love techno. Some days I feel like techno. It's like chocolate and peanut butter for me. They go well together in my world. This is 343 TV, brought to you by 343 Labs Music Production School and 343 Studio. That's right. We have our subscription thing going on. Our dojo, as Abe Duque likes to call it. Really, I've been enjoying doing 343 Studio lately. And, getting, especially the people who sign up for the higher tier and get the one-on-one feedback and mentorship. It's one of my favorite things to do. So I don't know if you like what we do here on the streams and, you want to get a little instruction, a little bit of guidance with your music production, we're here. So check that out. And if you've been on the fence, I know we do this all the time. We say, hey, we do these courses. You should check it out. Go to the links below. Sign up. We have in-person courses in New York and in-person in Berlin. And we have our online courses. Our full courses we are having right now. And it's about to end, I believe, tomorrow. So this is your last chance. We're doing a buy one, get one free. So you sign up for a course and you get a whole nother course. And that's a very valuable proposition, I think. So if you've been on the fence, I'm not sure I want to do it. Now is the time to do it, to sign up. We've got a bunch of courses starting up for the summer. So go to the links below, check out what we've got going on. Again, New York City, Berlin, in person and online. And yeah, I think that's, one more point of business. So, as you know, normally I do Saturdays. It's Techno Saturdays or Electro Saturdays. Next week's a holiday weekend. We have our Memorial Day coming up, and I'm not going to stream on Saturday. However, I am going to come on Thursday. So, if you're following along, hopefully you can put a little bit of time aside on Thursday, same time, 1 p.m. as we usually do. And that's going to be for next week only. Then we'll be back to Saturdays after that. And yeah, so I have a guest today. This guy is, I want to say, he's a big champion of the electro scene. He is a contributor and a supporter of the electro scene and new artists and labels. He's been in it for a long time. This guy right here. Look at this guy. Look at this shirt. This is the coolest. I want this shirt. I hope maybe someday I know I'm putting the pressure on now, but this is one of the coolest shirts, I think. If you know those names, you know what we're talking about. I think a lot of you out there who are into electro definitely know these names. And, you know, I've even been very fortunate to have half of that list on my show, which I think is a pretty good average. Anyway, without further ado, let's bring them on. Welcome, DVS NME of Dark Science Electro. How's it going? Oh, good. So yeah, this is, you know, the latest episode of Guys with Hats and Beards Who Like Electro. Thanks for coming on so we can talk about beards and hats. Sorry, I did the same stupid joke before.
Absolutely. I can't wait.
It's just a thing that keeps happening. I don't know what it is. But why is there such a high percentage?
You keep inviting people with hats and beards on.
People into electro or make electro or run record labels. That never mind. It's true. They're not. I mean, obviously, Carl Finlow doesn't have a beard and doesn't wear a hat. Anthony Rother definitely not. Right? Like they've got their own. Yeah. So anyway. Enough about that. We're here to talk about you. Tell us, you know, about a little bit about what you do, where you're coming from. You know, you're an artist. You're producing, right? We're going to talk about that a little bit more. But you've been doing this thing for a while, Dark Science Electro. Tell us a little bit about what that is for and what you do with that.
Sure. Yeah. So Dark Science Electro is a weekly podcast that I've run for 12 years as of last month. The initial focus of it was to kind of really highlight the darker side of electro, because there wasn't a lot of representation. There were a lot of bangers and, you know, Miami bass representation and squee and all the different subgenres and whatnot.
Sure.
But I just didn't feel like there was enough representation for the kind of like the weird sci-fi sort of style. So my idea was to create a show that would document that style of electro specifically.
Cool. I mean, I would say nowadays that there is a lot more of that kind of electro sort of in the forefront, wouldn't you say?
Just how I like it. That was the idea.
So
yeah.
You were ahead of that wave. There's, you know, in the last few years, you know, electro has been around for a long time and it's never gone away, but it like many other genres go through periods of you know, there's cycles where it becomes more in the forefront. And we are definitely over the last few years back into one of those cycles where electro is, you know, kind of in the front and noticeable, right?
Yeah, it's definitely moving into a different sound. I mean, I've really been a huge champion of that weirder kind of, you know, Der Zyklus type sound, you know. Sure. But I think that the new school of folks that are coming out right now, the younger kids are really kind of twisting it and doing you know, lots of different variations, like bringing rave elements back into it and kind of like heavy breaks or jungle type feel into the electro. And you know, I'm all for that as well. I mean, it's not my favorite personally, right? I'm still going to keep on doing me, right? But at the same time, it's always great to watch the genre evolve.
Definitely. Well, and I'm really into that. I mean, I like electro, but I also like all of the different manifestations and, you know, the genres that it influences and then vice versa. And like, you know, I'm cool with like electro and breaks and techno mixed together. I mean, we were talking about that a little bit, like how you feel about techno. And like, for me, it's, you know, they're in the same family. And I mean, you have to acknowledge that electro was first historically, you know, as a genre, especially with like electro funk, even before it was called that. If you going back to Kraftwerk, we didn't call it electro, but that's, you know, that era is where it started. And then techno happened later.
Yeah, I generally tend to avoid that, right? Because the whole, you know, we came first sort of thing, just, I don't know, that's just kind of stale in my opinion. You know, it's a matter of, you know, what's better in my personal perspective, you know. And for me, it's always been electro. I mean, I'm into a lot of different styles of music, and some of those styles are more, you know, leaning toward the techno side of things. I come from an EBM and kind of industrial dance background, you know.
Sure.
For your frontline assemblies and, you know, front 242s and things of that nature, right?
Equally part of the sort of, you know, genre spectrum, right? Like they're, you know, electro and those other genres have always been pretty tight and crossed over multiple times, right?
Yeah. I never actually thought that in the beginning when I started doing this, but the more I started to connect with the community, the more I realized just how much crossover there was. The Venn diagram of my previous musical life growing up a goth industrial kid, then seeing what fans of electro kind of get from those different genres and stuff. It blew my mind. I really thought that I was some sort of unique flower or something. That like I was the only person who happened to like both industrial music and weirdo electro, but that's not the case. It's fantastic.
Totally not at all. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Right.
That's cool. So checking in with the chat. There's a couple new people in here. Are you familiar with Alavuk? Goran Alavuk? Did I say that right? You know what I'm talking about? Alavux?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, he's in the chat. We know him a little bit. He's made some cool stuff. Nice to have you here. Anthony Rother is in the chat. Look at this. We got to put this up on the screen. Greetings to my man, DVS NME. Great guy doing it with passion. Love it. Thanks very much, Anthony. Glad that you're here today.
Thanks a lot, Anthony.
Nice. And so here we are, a bunch of electro nerds in the chat. Perfect. So we're talking about Dark Science Electro. When did you start doing that again? I know you said, but
it was 2010, right? So leading up to 2010, my interest in electro started right around 2000, right, with the resurgence of like the electro clash movement and whatnot.
Okay.
And kind of building up to 2010. From 2000, I was just scouring the internet trying to find, this music genre that I thought was dead long ago, because I knew of electro funk when I was a kid, right? But I got out of it, right? I got into goth industrial and kind of into funk and different genres and whatnot. And I, suddenly it started to reemerge with electroclash and just blew my mind. So I started to scout the internet, and I've ended up finding a couple of different resources, like basswarp.com, I believe was one of them. City of Bass, which is by a friend of mine up in Denver, Mad Wax, Chris Spada. Global Funk Radio was a big part of me kind of wanting to get into doing Dark Science Electro as well, just seeing that there was this community, getting onto like Electro Empire forum and whatnot.
Right, Electro Empire.
Yeah, like discovering a lot of that sort of stuff and just realizing, holy shit, this music exists in a big way, and I've not known about it. I need to like really immerse myself in it, right? So I did that. There wasn't as much of a like a back catalog, right? There was nowhere that I could really go and, find all of this music in a very easy way and in abundance, right? Because when I go hard, right? I wanted to go all in, and I wanted to like really nerd out, right?
Well, you've definitely you have been doing that with Dark Science Electro. I've actually just going over to your SoundCloud page, where you are just constantly posting and reposting, and I really enjoy that. Like, you're going in, you're finding new artists, up and coming artists, all sorts of. You're like a really important filter for me. There's so much music out there, and you're like you're catching a lot of it, and then you're kind of highlighting things that are standing out, and then I love it. And I've definitely discovered a bunch of artists that way, and I don't know. I feel like we should listen to a little bit of music while we're talking.
Sure.
What have you sort of posted or reposted recently here that we could check out real quick while we're talking?
Let's see. I don't know. I've been kind of slow on the repost grind just because of the new album dropping recently of my own. So
right, but but then there's reposts from like a day ago, so you're not totally behind.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I'm usually pretty on it. That 0 = 3 is good. I mean, the Ekman playlist that I put together recently is always good. Ekman is one of the best. He does just super weirdo music. It's always very minimal, very to the point, very ominous. Right. Real spooky vibes, kind of in the same vein as like Das Muster. Just really kind of horror-esque type of sounds. Just very cool. That's my kind of electro for sure.
It's definitely, the dark part of the Dark Science is evident here. It's got a little bit of sinister, creepy vibe to it right now, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Nice. Cool. So I have your Facebook page up here, which is your Dark Science Electro page. This is like the new version of it, right? Something happened with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've run the page for, 12 years and amassed a lot of followers and was a really great point of community for people to come through when I would share things. Anything that I would do off of SoundCloud, I would do on this Dark Science Electro Facebook page. And unfortunately, I had kind of a hijacking take place, and unfortunate lack of customer service from Facebook made it impossible for me to recover. So I decided to call it quits, only to realize, I think it was 4 months later, that as it turns out, I do end up getting a lot of fulfillment from being able to share music with people on that scale.
Right.
And so I decided, it's time to get back into it. And so I rebuilt the page. I think we're up to like almost 1,000 followers after a few months or whatever. So that's going to be a slow build to kind of get back to where we were or whatever. But at the same time, I think that it's worth it, because there's just a lot of people that I think really do count on that, as you said, filter, right? Not everyone has the time to dig through the ridiculous amount of shit that comes out.
How do you have the time? Gosh, it's not like you don't have a day job, right? Like,
no, I have a very good ear, right? So I don't listen to everything that I post all the way through multiple times, right? Okay. I know what I like, and I have the feeling for it, right? I can listen to 10 seconds of something and know whether or not it's going to be something that I'm willing to repose.
I know that method of listening. I mean, that comes from anyone who's like selected music, or, been a DJ and practiced and listening and going through. You can kind of, working in a record store for years, like needle drop. And then the first thing you hear within seconds, if it's worth going much farther, and
100%.
Yeah. So you can get a feel for something pretty quickly.
I know what sounds kind of rub me the right way and the wrong way.
Sure.
If something's a snare is particularly, not EQ'd right, or whatever the case may be, I'm not going to finish listening to it. I don't care how good anything else about it is, or if the hats aren't, moving the right way or whatever. No, on to the next. There's so much music out there anymore. It's not possible for me to take the time to listen to everything as thoroughly as some might hope.
Well, I'm glad you're taking the time that you are. And, all of you out there, if you're not already following, definitely do so. I mean, it's one of the reasons we're talking about this is, there are a few places to follow and find cool new electro, and Dark Science Electro is definitely one of them. So if you haven't already, definitely let's see if we can help you get your numbers back up to what they used to be before Facebook kind of screwed you over a little bit there.
Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, obviously the true fans, they're gonna find me one way or the other. I've got quite a bit of people who follow me on SoundCloud and on Instagram and things of that nature. So I mean, the stuff that I'm pushing, of course, is still going to get heard. So it's a bummer to have lost a little bit of audience, but it doesn't completely kill my drive. I just want to get the music heard.
You're doing what you love. Oh, here we go. Let's play this. This is a good one. This is a new release coming up from Scape 1.
Oh, sure.
On Science Cult, and this is an Ectomorph remix, that's another. I'd love to have Mr. Gillen on this show one day. I haven't seen him in a long time. I wonder if he would be willing.
I bet he would.
But yeah, Science Cult is. I've done a couple of things with them, like giving them a track for a compilation, done a remix. These guys are doing really cool stuff, I think. I like what they're doing with the label, and it's been nice talking to them.
Yeah, James and Stefan are great.
And Stefan's here.
He is, yeah. He just lives right up the mountain from me, actually.
Oh, that's right. You guys are in the same area.
We are, yeah.
Nice. Cool. I'm putting this on, and it's totally like taking my attention away from the conversation. That's a danger. We're both into this music. As soon as you put it on, we're like, I'm going to just start dancing like a robot. So, what else are you doing with Dark Science Electro in terms of like, you're not just reposting stuff, right?
No, so I mean, it covers a wide scope of things. I mean, anything that's related to electro is generally what I try to push, right? So if it's electro art, or memes, or concert dates, or mixes, or other platforms that are doing similar things, I'm just really it's a matter of being a megaphone for anything that is electro related.
Sure.
Getting down, John.
I'm getting down. I'm telling you, I like this. I just realized I got the promo of this and I didn't send my reaction, but I guess they're getting it now. Alrighty.
They're gonna want that in text form.
Of course, yeah. They wanna be able to pass that along to the artist. I would love to have Scape One on the show. That's another. He's been around forever, and he's so prolific.
He is a lovely man too. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah, I sent him a message, and again, hey, no pressure, but whenever you're ready, I'd love to have you on the show. I don't know if you're going to see this, but
I'll make sure he does.
Very welcome to stop by. I'd love, like, you know, anyone. I mean, there's some obvious big names out there that would be amazing to have for guests, but you know, I would love to have some newer up and coming artists as well. So I'm open to suggestions. Anyone out there, or you know, if you have any ideas about like who to bring on, let's get more I mean, all right, not everybody's up for like the challenge of doing a live stream, especially, you know, depending on how technical it can be, right? But you know, Finlow's been on, Anthony's been on. Like, you could do this. We had Radioactive Man, Keith Tenniswood. I was so happy to have him on.
Well, if you want me to be your broker, I mean,
yeah, that's
right.
You know, let's work out a deal.
I know some people, you know.
You know a lot of people. I think you probably know like everybody at this point. Definitely.
Well, the premieres process that I did for like, I don't know, 3 years or whatever, where I would work with labels that were, you know, planning on doing a release or whatever, and work with them to premiere a song from one of their upcoming albums, and, you know, publish the details of where to buy it,
sure,
and kind of the angle of the artist, say some nice words about them and whatnot. Put me kind of in a unique position to you know, really build some really good relationships. Not to mention the fact that, you know, obviously I've been harassing artists and labels for promos for 10 years, you know what I mean? So yeah, I do know a good number of people. So if anyone ever, you know, is interested, cool, or there's someone that's on your radar that you don't know personally, let me know.
Yeah, well, we've got some nice suggestions here in the chat. Let's see. Animistic Beliefs is a suggestion from, is it Virgin? I don't know. Tell us how to pronounce that. I'm so sorry. Decatron says 214. That's a good one. I like 214. And False Persona is another suggestion. The Droid is another good suggestion. Exaltix, definitely. Wow. Okay, now this is a nice big long list. Stingray, which that's, I think, going to be a tough one. Ear Google, The Hacker. I know him. Let's see if we'll work on him. And Helena Hauff. All right, we'll see. Good suggestions. Thanks for that. How are we doing? I'm telling you, having the music in the background just making it really hard to talk to you. I'm hearing these cool tracks. I'm like, what's going on? We're listening right now to what is this? Data Wave Quantum Networks. Is that someone you're familiar with? Of course, you reposted them.
Gaishan. Yeah, for sure.
That's nice.
I was one of his early followers. I've been, you know, selling his shit for years. He had a wave of releases. When I started really hawking his stuff on Dark Science Electro, he messaged me privately and was thanking me for, you know, obviously being the megaphone, because it got him a flood of offers from various labels, which is the best thing.
Oh no, it's really amazing.
It's the best thing for me.
I mean, that's one of my favorite things. It's like highlighting new artists, which is great. And like that you can connect someone who's good, who's unknown, to labels and help kickstart their career.
I joke about it all the time. I call myself an electro broker all of the time, because people will message me and, you know, what label should I work with, or this and that, all these questions about, you know, who they should do this with or that with or whatever. And I'm always connecting people, which is fantastic. That's what I want to do. I mean, obviously I'm in a privileged position to, you know, have built all these connections, and by all means, if I'm not using them, then what did I do all that for?
I think this is a joke, but someone just asked me to interview you. Interview DVS NME. Okay, so tell us about yourself. Yes.
It's pretty wide. I'm originally.
I was joking.
Okay, I was like,
I'm gonna let you off the hook there. Let's switch gears a little bit. We're about halfway through the show, and let's go back to our other scene here. I'm just gonna pause the music for a moment. So, this is 343 TV, brought to you by 343 Labs. I am here with my guest, DVS NME of Dark Science Electro. It's great having you on, and I don't know, it's nice to like hear about what you do with Dark Science Electro, and a little bit about your history and where you're coming from. And aside from that, you're also a producer yourself.
I would say I'm a producer first.
You're a producer first. All right. So you started doing music on your own before you set up Dark Science Electro then?
Oh yeah, very much. I've been producing music since I was 17. So,
wow.
Like 22 years now at this point.
That's amazing. What did you kind of get started with when you first were getting into making music?
real piddly means, as is usually the case, right? No, I got my start using a PlayStation video game called The Music Generator. And it was exactly what it sounds like. It was just a DAW, digital audio workstation, that was, able to teach me kind of the bare bones of sequencing and arrangement and things of that nature. Really, really helpful stuff. And from there, I kind of moved on to groove boxes, the MC 101, the Yamaha RM1X. Just some of my first pieces of gear, and then eventually landed on using just straight DAW. So I was making music with Reason for many, many years. And then once the iPad was a viable option for music making, I started getting into iPad music production, which I still very much love, though I don't get as much use out of it these days, just because I put so much money into the studio or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I'm all about all of the different means of production, as you could say.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, so you've covered a lot of different sort of workflows and ways of making electronic music, and but you've pretty much settled on hardware only now, right?
Yeah, I kind of wax and wane. It kind of depends, right? Because you can't really lay on the couch and have a full-blown music studio like this, right?
Sure. You can do that on an iPad, though.
Exactly. Or on a plane, right? Like anytime I travel, I generally will write a song when I'm on the plane or whatever, or, a long road trip or whatever. But yeah, I mean, if I have my choice and I want to jam, well then, yeah, by all means, there's no comparison. Hardware is the way to go. But as far as like songwriting and, kind of fiddling around and, stuff like that, I do love to sit on the couch. So
cool.
It's kind of nice.
So while we're talking, I'm going to start putting on some music in the background from your album, which you just released last week, right?
Yeah, on Saturday, my 39th birthday, last Saturday.
So yeah, this is the Bandcamp page for Agitation Propaganda. That's quite a picture. I like that.
Thank you. My girlfriend, who is a professional artist, designed it for me.
That is great that you've got her to do your kind of good, high quality visual image. That's excellent.
Yeah, she's usually quite busy, but I held the birthday thing over her head. I was like, hey, so it's my birthday. You want to design an album cover for me? Nice
present.
So the last 3 album covers were actually designed by her simply because I needed her. I don't have that design aesthetic capability. So for her, it's easy.
Cool. Let's take a look. I'm going to take a look at your studio behind you. What have you got there?
Oh, many things. So the way that my setup generally runs is that the MPC-1 drives the TR-8S, the MC-101, the Microfreak, the SE-02, the SH-01A, the TB-03, the Hydrasynth, which I love, the Minilog, the Peak, the System 8, and then behind me is my newest and favorite synth, the Prophet Rev 2.
Nice.
And then my oldest synthesizer, the Microkorg. And then the iPad above it, which I use for various things, because I do like to do hybrid stuff as well, where I'll use hardware and the iPad at the same time.
That's a really nice setup. I mean, I can, we were talking a little bit, pre-show about sort of your workflow and how you work within certain limitations, like I, for example, let me go back to our other view here. I work primarily in the box. I do have some hardware, but I like to be able to have sort of absolute control over every little thing and to have, to break everything out into separate tracks with effects and mix it, and like be able to go back and isolate parts. And the way you have it set up, you're really like, you get the jam together. Why don't you tell us a little bit, actually, instead of me trying to describe it, why don't you tell us a little bit about your workflow and how you get started and then what you commit to?
Sure. Yeah, it is a bit unique. The way that I produce music is kind of on a one take basis. So I'll come into the studio and turn on all the machines, and I'll work out a melody, I'll work out a beat, I'll get everything going, and I will record it. And then once I am done, I turn all of the machines off, not saving any of the MIDI data, patches, or anything that is associated.
Wait a minute. Okay, so I'm gonna stop you there. You don't save anything.
I never save anything, no.
So you, once it's like, if that would drive me crazy, like to not be able to go back. Look, so everything is just, I mean, it's like the way we used to have to work. Like before I had multi-tracking on a computer, I didn't have a multi-track tape. Okay, I did start with like a cassette 4-track. Like that was one of my first recording devices, was a Tascam 244, I think, or a 242, I forget. And, you know, that was amazing. But like when I started making techno and electro, let's say in the 90s, like everything was going through a mixer, and it was going straight to 2-track, to like a DAT machine, you know, when I was lucky enough to get a DAT machine. And then, yeah, once you were done, you recorded it, and then that was it, and you would never get it exactly back the same way. So yeah, I know what you're talking about. But like now I've got, you know, Ableton Live or any DAW, and I got all these plugins, and I can save everything, and I can automate everything.
Sure.
And I don't think I could go back to that, but I do see the value of it, of like being in the moment and capturing yourself in the moment. And yeah, it's
twofold for me, right? So part of it's just straight up laziness, right? I'm just going to level with you.
All right.
And
we're honest. We're all honest here.
The laziness stems from disorganization, right? So just having everything like in a notebook, writing down, you know, which patch goes with which thing, and having all of the stuff assigned in the MPC the right way. And it's a lot. But that's not the major part of it. The biggest part of it for me is really just, I want it to be a moment in time.
Okay.
I want my jams and my songs to reflect that very same day that I did it. I don't want to spend 8 days on a song. I want to spend 8 hours on a song. And that's generally what I do. I don't spend more than one session on a track under any circumstance. If I can't get it done in one session, it's lost to the ether. It's gone.
So you're pretty much committed to like a regular schedule, and this is the day that I work, and this is what I do on that day. And then when you're done, and you move on to the next thing.
Exactly right. No, it's very, very common. Every Friday, I will generally around 1 p.m. or so, I'll go into the studio. I'll start making music with a clear mind. Around 4 or 5 o'clock, I'll start to have a drink, and it just goes into the night. So usually I'll get done around, you know, like not between 8 and 11, or sometimes later, it depends on the track or whatever. But and when I'm done, I'm done. All the machines get shut off, and you know, I mean, it's labels hate me for it, and
right, they're like, can you turn this up, or can we do a remix and get the parts?
Yeah, mastering engineers hate me for it, labels hate me for it, remixers hate me for it. But you know, it's just the way that I choose to do it. I feel like there's something special about it, because I know that all of this music was done within the confines of my abilities at that time.
Sure.
It's my two hands, you know, turning knobs, right? I don't even do a whole lot of automation when it comes to that. Like I can with the MPC if I chose, right? But I would rather make it, you know, like I said, a moment in time, like an audible diary of my life.
Well, I think that's a really good approach. And it's also like a little bit liberating, I think, for some people. Like you can just let it be what it is and let go and progress. Because like the way that's a benefit of the setup, is that you don't get stuck doing one thing over and over again until you think it's perfect. You progress to the next thing.
Yep, and I immediately publish it too. I publish every single song that I make on SoundCloud immediately after I do it.
Well, all right.
And are they all good?
There must be something that you were like, no one must ever hear this.
No, not at all. I legitimately publish everything that I do if I finish it, right? Like I said, if I get into a session and it gets lost to the ether because I'm just not going to finish it, then it's gone and I don't record it, and that's that. But yeah, anything that I finish, and believe me, it's not all good. You can go and listen to all of my unreleased tracks. There's a mountain of them right on SoundCloud. Doesn't mean that everything that I do is good. It just means that it's up, right? But it is representative of me, right? I don't need to curate this, you know, this sparkling image, that I'm, perfect and all of my tracks are fantastic. That's not me. That's not my shit. For me, it's just more so about being prolific and being productive, just
Nice.
banging them out and enjoying what I do. It's more of the catharsis that goes into making the music than it is being on a label or having a vinyl or whatever the case. None of that shit means anything to me.
Got it. Right. So you're you're doing this for yourself, and you're doing it in your own way. And what you're saying about, aside from that, just like in terms of the workflow for production and working with that limitation and you're setting up a situation where you are progressing, like, I think that's really good stuff for people to consider who are getting into this, who want to do music production. This is a really solid way of working. It may not work for everybody. Like, sure. I have a different way, but I like this as a kind of a teaching moment for people to think about. Like, you don't have to be perfect, and you can just let it be what it is, and you can sort of just let go and move forward. And as you do that, you will get better too.
Yeah,
like every track is, okay, everybody has their ups and downs, and one day you're inspired and another day you're not. But like, you're incrementally like getting better every single time. But you have something to show for it too. Rather than a bunch of unfinished ideas, you have a bunch of, well, hopefully finished ideas.
That's the idea, really. Yeah. It's just I will produce a ton of tracks over the course of the year, usually between 50 and 60. And then at the end of that year, I will compile my favorite chunk of them. Sometimes it's 25, sometimes it's 15, whatever, right? 30 even, I think, on my last release. And I just put those out and I self-release them. I don't shop them to labels or do anything like that. I just put it out and cross my fingers, hope for the best. And, will I ever make the money back that I spent on all this shit that you see behind me?
That's not why you're doing it.
Probably not, but that's not the point. That's definitely not the point.
Most people buying gear and making music are not going to pay for it through most even I could maybe, but I haven't been focusing on making money from music in a while. My job is teacher now, and I really love that. And then making music is like what I just do. Right?
Exactly. It's never been a focus for me. Money has never been the driving force with Electro for me.
Yeah.
And it's one of the biggest pieces of advice that I give to people when they approach me about, being successful in Electro. I tell them that if their measurement for success is money, then they need to run. Just
right.
Turn around and run, because you're in the wrong genre. It's not for you. That's not what this is for. I know
you could say that about any genre. Most music in general is something we do because, or maybe should do because we love it, not because we want to make a career out of it. But let's listen to a little bit more music. I asked you this before, and I think I spaced out. But like, is there like a favorite track on the new album?
For me personally, not really. I mean, I do like a lot of them, right? I mean, call me a narcissist or whatever.
You like your stuff, that's fine.
I like my shit. But I think that the fan favorite is the local UAW one.
Local 22 UAW.
Yeah, that one is. It's kind of a techno jam, actually, which frustrates me to no end that this is the kind of fan favorite. This is the track that's been purchased the most as a one-off, right? And within my promo download folder for DJs, it's the track that's been the most downloaded from DJs who are going to be playing my music. So it's like,
Why is it frustrating?
Because I don't really get into techno.
Okay, all right. So, but is it techno? It's 4/4, and we talked about this a little bit too before. Is like my personal taste with Electro is that I prefer more syncopated, more funky Electro beats, right? I like the rhythms when there isn't a steady 4/4 kick underneath it. But this is still very much Electro, and it has a 4/4 kick. So it isn't only about that.
Sure, no doubt. I just had multiple people tell me kind of a techno vibe coming from you, Johan. I'm like, yeah.
Were they just teasing you?
No, I don't think so.
It's very Electro. I think it's totally legit to make Electro with a steady kick drum, right? And
I don't mind. There's a lot of people that do it really well. Commuter is amazing.
Definitely.
Commuter blows my mind.
The Hacker.
The Hacker.
Oh my
Another
gosh.
great example.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of different Electro artists get it, right? I mean, come on. There's like Doppler effect tracks that are 4/4, and that's like the most electro in a way, like that kind of stuff.
Right. Absolutely.
But no, this is a good track. This is definitely a highlight of the album. I agree, and I can see why it's the most downloaded.
I would say maybe for me, probably my favorite track on the album, if I really did have to pick just one.
Who's your favorite child?
Probably non-synchronism or speculative logic. I think those two are good examples of where my head's at when it comes to the more, upbeat stuff. I mean, because my music does tend to venture into the weird kind of John Carpenter territory, right?
Sure.
But, I think that those tracks really do stand out as far as, the upbeat stuff is concerned.
Cool.
Usually my favorite track on an album that I put out isn't the faster ones, but in the case of this album, I think that those two probably take the cake for me personally.
I'm checking in with the chat a little bit here. New Drexian says the claps and the snares are electro. All right.
Sure.
Cool. Oh, look at this. All right. How did I miss this? Carl Finlow is here. What's up, Carl? Really glad that you're hanging out with us today. Hopefully you're feeling a lot better. I know things have been rocky for you lately, so, really, really glad to know that you're, up and about and improving and that you're here with us today. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, Carl.
Definitely. And, he just had a release out on Science Cult as well. That's another, man, so prolific. Carl Finlow's put out so many records. It's crazy. Like, I am not a prolific producer, never have been. I work slow. Like, and I kind of go with how I feel. Like, I probably should try your method and see how much more productive I might be able to be.
I like it. It works for me. I mean, I'm not what's good for the goose is not good for the gander, right? But at the same time, it definitely works for me.
And that's also something that wait, I'm going to pause that music for a second. And you said speculative logic was one of your favorites. Let's
sure.
Put that on.
Yeah.
I think like also working only with hardware definitely makes it easier to limit yourself in that workflow way, because it is more of a pain in the ass to save everything. And it is, if you're multi-tracking everything, it's just, that much more complicated to do. And even, it depends on what hardware you're using, but like, it's more of a hassle. It's more expensive. It's more time consuming to like track everything separately and then recall everything perfectly. Like, it takes up more space on your SD card. Like, it's just simplifying it in that way with hardware. Definitely. I don't know. I feel like I've been lazy. I really should set up. I have gear here. I really should just set it up in a way that I can work without a computer and try it out. We may have to do a show. I may have to do this on a show. I'm saying this in front of everybody so there's some accountability, because like I'm definitely an idea person and I come up with, we should do this and we should do that, but then actually like doing it, right? There's certain things I love to do and that I follow through with, and other things like I take my time a little bit. So no, I think I'm a little bit inspired right now to give this a shot and try and get my hardware setup going so I can crank some stuff out.
Well, I love that idea.
Cool.
I fully endorse.
Another familiar name in the chat. It's Barb from Civiex. That's a really cool project you guys have. And we were fortunate to have a track from them on Serotonin a little while back. That was one of my favorites. Although we haven't been putting too much stuff out lately, but I do have something in the works for Serotonin, which is remixes of one of my old tracks. And we have a Radioactive Man remix, we have a Sync 24 remix, and we have a Transparent Sound remix. And I am psyched. I can't wait to make this public. So we gotta finish the production process.
Serotonin was how we actually met.
Exactly.
Because of releases when I was doing premieres.
Yeah, and the premieres you mentioned earlier, you're not doing that so much nowadays, right?
I'm not. No, it just was very time consuming. So for me, again, I'm a producer first, and when I found myself kind of dedicating too much of my own time to it, it wasn't sustainable, right? With the show that I do weekly, as well as, you know, having a day job and, you know, having a family and all life, right? Really, really hard to juggle all of that, because the longer I did it, the more requests that I got, obviously, right? And it became hard to kind of keep up with it. So I decided to call it. Plus, there's just so many of those outlets out there that are doing that now. When I started doing it, there was like maybe one or two that, you know, you could count on in the world of electro to do something like that for a label or an artist.
Right.
And by the time I got out of it, I mean, I could point to 12, 15 different outlets that are doing it. And it's, you know, I felt like that space is, you know, it's too much. I don't need to be there. You know, there's already enough.
Well, and then, you know, it was taking up all your time, and it's something that, like, you know, that's like PR. People get paid to do that, and you were doing it for free, which is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, because you love the music, but it's a lot. It was a lot. So I totally understand why you shifted your focus there. And, you know, it's also a lot easier to just repost SoundCloud links or SoundCloud tracks, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of how I was viewing it too, right? Because I mean, my reach on the DVS NME profile is quite a bit bigger than the Dark Science Electro profile, but it still gets the music heard. I mean, between me, you know, favoriting it on my DVS NME profile, reposting it on the SoundCloud profile for Dark Science Electro, and then posting it on the Facebook Dark Science Electro, you know, I'm still doing the same service. You know, it's just less effort for me. So being supportive of the community is always been my number one goal. That's really what it's about. This music is you know, underappreciated, and I think that you know, the more people that hear it, the better.
Cool. I'm just checking into the chat again, and we have a question, and I think this is a serious question, and that is, what is the difference between electro and techno? Now, I think you, being a very strongly opinionated person who's really into electro, are going to have a really interesting answer for this question. What's the difference between electro and techno?
What's the difference?
Yeah.
I think that there are, you know, obviously like genre differences that you could point to that are, you know, absolute, right? Like the existence of 4/4 in techno music being, you know, the abundant, you know, pattern that's used with drums, right? But, you know, I mean, it's obviously very subjective too, right? So what I view as techno isn't the same as what someone else views as techno.
True. And there's many different takes and different variations on the genre, right? Like there's not one kind of techno only, nor is there one kind of electro either.
That's right. I don't like all electro and I don't hate all techno.
There you go.
It does go both ways. I just like to talk shit, you know, like I like to make these stupid memes and talk shit. That's all. That's
okay. Hey, I thought we weren't going to talk about the memes.
It's just my personality, you know, like no one knows me, you know, because I don't do video interviews or anything. Like this is my first time doing this, right? But
sorry, you're not anonymous anymore.
It's just my personality, you know, like I'd like to think that I'm a pretty approachable and fun guy, and people take it out of context and stuff. So I've gotten myself into trouble with talking shit on techno or saying that electro is better than techno, but you know, people get their feelings hurt, but you know, it is what it is.
You're just making clickbait. All right, May in the chat says techno equals boom, 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 and electro is bzz, bzz, zap, zap. Okay. Or boing, boing, boom, chock. That's electro. Boing, boom,
there
chock.
You go.
Right.
There you
go. From SIAC PhD Live. Yes, that's right. Chris. Thanks for clearing that up, guys. Vadim says electro has more cowbell, which is true. I would say with the 808 drum machine, especially that 808 cowbell is definitely more present in electro, but you do hear it in techno as well, for sure. Now, all right, I'm not... Civix saying, waiting for Johan's analogy of electro versus techno, right? Yeah, but that was not so extreme. I thought you were going to go hard on techno, but no, you're kind of cool about it.
I mean, when it boils down to it, it's a matter of subjectivity, right? And so, I mean, I bullshit on the internet all the time about how, you know, or electro is better than techno or whatever, but that's just, that's just one man's opinion, right? I mean, there are people that are just gonna, not like it, and people who are going to die for it. I just happen to be running a venue that's called Dark Science Electro. That anyone would be surprised that I prefer electro over techno is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty clear to me what you're out there to do. Definitely.
Right. Yeah, that's it.
So, back to your album a little bit, just letting it play in the background. It's pretty solid, I got to say. Like, I like this one playing now. Let's see. I had to switch over to SoundCloud because Bandcamp was complaining. I think this is Negotiation Tactics. Talk a little bit about the concept of the album, actually. Just, there's a pretty clear visual statement being made here. So
so the concept of this album is similar to the concept of my last album. I'm an avowed socialist, so for me, a lot of inspiration comes from the world around me and the late stage capitalism that we're kind of seeing happen, particularly in the United States and in the UK. And for me, what I wanted to convey with my music was just to try to, get some class consciousness stirred up, right?
Okay.
Which is why the name of the album is Agitation Propaganda, right? Because that's the aim with these song titles. It's not as, direct as, some other people might be, right? Obviously, my song titles can be subtle, right? Mm-hmm. Names like Ratchet Effect might not mean anything to somebody, who just, looks at the name of the song title. But if they go and look it up, guess what? They're going to learn about economics, right? Yeah. So, and that's really where it all stems from. Is just, I read a lot of Karl Marx, and it's one of those things where it just influences my music life. And I just feel as though there's a lot in electro that's kind of tired, right? Like the sci-fi theme, as much as I do love it, don't get me wrong, I do love it. That shit is played out. Like, it's been done 1,000,001 times. I mean, to the point where you literally see like the same song titles for different artists.
And I've noticed that, and I'm sure you see even more than I do.
It's absolutely ridiculous. So for me to kind of change the narrative as far as what electro music can be and what can be said with electro music, that's kind of the whole aim behind the album.
That's great. I think you're right. It is easy to fall into cliche.
Sure.
I mean, with any genre, but
absolutely.
Electro being so tied to certain kind of vision of sci-fi,
Mm-hmm.
And it has to do with, if you think about what was up front culturally in the late 70s and the early 80s, that imprinted that is so heavily on this genre, and it continues, and you hear it. Like, there's a lot, people still make electro that sounds like early 80s, and that's cool. Mm-hmm. And people still make electro that sounds like the 90s, and that's cool. Mm-hmm. And so on, right? I think it's important to like come up with concepts to lead the music so that it does continue to progress. I'm not saying it isn't. That's one of the things I love about playing with different genres and mixing around, combining electro and other things, is that's how you find progress with the genre. So, but it also goes for kind of, like your artistic concept and the message you're trying to bring forward. So yeah, I think you're on the right track here with that.
Electro can be anything that you want it to. So sure. Just for me, that's just what I want it to be for now, right? I might change it later and make albums that reference space again, and then I'll look like a huge asshole for having said all this, right? But this moment in time, that's what it was for me.
Definitely. Some nice comments along those lines here. In the chat, Stefan Wise says, when music has narrative, it becomes meaningful regardless of whether or not it has lyrics. And absolutely. That's a good one. Although now, Future World Machines, that's not a very electro sounding name. Future World Machine says, we need more vocals that say something in electro. Okay, no, I get that. It's so easy to be like robot computer vocals, but like actually say something meaningful about the world. That's a good idea. I agree with that. And I think
I really struggle with writing lyrics. Otherwise, all of my music would have lyrics.
I am terrible at writing lyrics, honestly.
There's one song on this entire album of 25 tracks that has lyrics.
Is that the first one?
It is, yeah.
I mean, I put it on already, but I'm going to put it on again. Oh, no, not Bandcamp. Sorry. Let's just highlight that since we're talking about lyrics. Hear you on your vocoder.
That's my first time using this vocoder on a track in probably years. I mean, I've had this synth for 15 years or however long this synth has been out.
Which one is that?
The Microchord.
Oh, this is the Microchord vocoder.
Yeah, it is. And I hadn't really used it for a really long time, and I just this track it spoke to me. It just seemed kind of bare, like it needed something else. And so I plugged it in and tried it out, and this song came about it. But nice. I mean, the lyrics are good enough, right? I mean, obviously, I'm not a poet. I mean, I got a lot of shit to say, but it never rhymes, you know. And it doesn't
have to rhyme.
Oh, I know. But you know, generally speaking, if I were to write lyrics, I'd want it to be like clever or artistic or poetic in some way. And I'm just that's not for me. You know, I need a ghostwriter for lyrics is ultimately what I want.
Oh well, Lie Society is one of our regulars here, and they say I love writing lyrics. Hit me up. So hey, we may have a writing partner here.
That would be great. I mean, if he's down with the theme that I've got going on, of course, absolutely.
Wait, so I'm gonna listen to this real quick. You're gonna have to. All right. You're gonna have to tell us a little bit what the lyrics you're saying.
It's God.
Sorry, no, it's okay. It's okay. I'm not. If you don't want to go through it, and if you don't remember them all off the top of your head, I don't want to put you on the spot. But.
I think I published it online somewhere.
Oh, cool.
It might be on the SoundCloud link actually.
Well,
let me see.
While you're looking at that, I'm looking back at the chats. Civic says, "Thank you, Johan, for this concept record reflecting on socialism." Very nice. And then Aimee says, "I think people into sci-fi are dreamers, so I don't find the switch to the class consciousness theme that big of a leap, especially given the themes explored in sci-fi." For sure. There's so much about science fiction that is highlighting not just robots and fighting in the future, but like modern social issues.
Sure.
There was somebody some idiot on Fox News complaining about how Star Trek is woke now. I'm like, it's always been.
It always has
all
been.
All the original ones in the 60s were not all, but a lot of them were talking about, you know, racism and sexism and affordable housing even was in there, crazy stuff like that. So it's all totally, you know, in there. And science fiction is definitely covering those themes. So it totally makes sense here.
Agreed.
And also, Civics says amazing track. They seem to like it. You're onto something.
Thanks, guys.
Cool. So we're at the end of the show. Actually, I think we're gonna coast out on this. Let's see. Let's get back to our welcome screen. And anyway, I just want to say thank you for being on the show. It's been fun chatting and hanging out, you know, and we've gotten, you know, we only knew each other over email and Facebook, and now, you know, we had some meetings, we've been chatting and gotten some interesting little tidbits of information about things that were cool to hear about. And yeah, it's been fun. So thanks a lot for doing what you do, sharing and promoting Electro with the world, and then producing your own music and being thoughtful about your concepts. And yeah, this has been really interesting.
Hey, thanks, John. I really appreciate it, man. It was a really great opportunity.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, definitely we're going to keep talking. Maybe we'll have you on again. I still have this idea because, I mean, looking at who came into the chat today, right? We got some really heavy hitters hanging out with us today. So thanks, guys, for being here. And again, to Carl Finlow, so glad that you are doing better and you're on the mend, and we're all thinking about you. And but I would love to do like a summit, like have a bunch of people have a big conversation one of these days. It's technically probably problematic to get everybody on. Probably just like, you know, it'd have to be like a Zoom meeting or something. But I don't know. Think about it, you guys. If you want to come on again in the future, maybe we can have a fun hangout one of these days.
100%.
You're into
Absolutely.
it? Cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like, like a World Electro Summit, State of Electro in 2023 or something. I don't know.
If you consider me an ambassador, I'll be there.
Cool. Yeah, that would be fun. All right. So that's it, everybody. Thanks again for hanging out with us today. Lots of good fun, interesting stuff to hear about. And I'll be back again next week, but on Thursday, right? Not Saturday, because I'll be off for the holiday here. And it's just, my chair, look what happened. My chair just failed. Of course, everything falls apart at the end. So I'll be here on Thursday. Just me, no guests, just making some music. Maybe even some electro. I think it's a 50-50 coin toss, but I think it's gonna be electro. That's what I feel like doing. So
yes,
nice. Yes, you win. You win. And let me just one last thing. Let me just remind everybody, if you've been thinking about doing a 343 Labs course, if that's something you might be interested in, do it now, because it's 50% off. Basically, it's buy one get one free. Sign up for a course, get another course, and that's happening this weekend. Now is your chance. If you're still not ready to dive into a whole big, expensive course, we do have our 343 Studio, which I love doing. The feedback sessions, the mentoring sessions. We do also a collaboration kind of a workshop where we get people together, and it's kind of like, it's breaking you out of your shell. How do I work with other people? That kind of thing. That can be really interesting as well. And, it's a bit of, I'll be honest, it's a bit of a mixed bag, because, a lot of different kinds of producers, a lot of different kinds of music genres come through. But, it could be a cool thing. Like if you're out there and you already have a project that you're working on with somebody and you want to kind of have some help getting it to the next level, think about coming to 343 Studio and checking that out. So that's it for today. Thanks again to my guest. It's been really fun, and I will see you on Thursday. Adios, everybody.
Bye, guys.